Hello and welcome back to yet another episode of Mathghamhain Morsels. This will again be in the A Sanguine Start series, and this will be episode 41, if I'm not mistaken. And I'm going to be making another mother sauce tonight. This one's going to be rather similar to the veloute, only some additional steps that add a lot more flavor. So, the first thing is something that starts very similar to the veloute and also starts very similar to the bechamel, which is making my roux. So, in both the bechamel and the veloute, I ended up making a blonde roux. The veloute, I kind of did a cheater's roux. In the bechamel, I did a full and proper blonde roux. Well, for this one, it requires a brown roux. So, it's much the same, only instead of using butter, I use some beef tallow because that has a higher temperature and doesn't burn as easy. And that's what's in that back pot on the burner. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm just going to be stirring it over low temperature for a long period of time until it gets this nice, rich, deep, almost caramel brown color to the roux from the starches in the flour just starting to caramelize a bit. And the trick to this is, again, a 1-to-1 fat to flour mix. And like I said, you want to use a high temperature, durable oil or fat. I recommend using a solid fat. So a tallow works wonders. You can use lard, you can use a Crisco or vegetable fat. Either way, or any of those options work wonders, but you just want to make sure that you take it up nice and slow and that you mix it round so that it doesn't end up burning to the bottom as it cooks. So while this doesn't need a constant stir, it needs a consistent stirring. So you can give it a couple moments, but then you have to stir it, make sure that you really scrape the bottom, go all the way around, make sure that there's not a section of the bottom of the pot that you don't agitate. Because you don't want anything burning in this. And you want it to just caramelize nice and slowly. Because I'm using beef tallow, my kitchen already smells amazing because it has that very beefy, fatty flavor to the just air when you're cooking with tallow, and it is fantastic. So to spare you guys this full process, since this can take about an hour depending on how everything comes together, I'm going to cut away and I will join you guys after the roux has thickened and also after I develop some fond in that black skillet up front. I'm going to be searing off an absolutely beautiful skirt steak. Make sure that it gets cooked nicely through, and then I'm going to set it off to rest as I do the rest of the sauce. Just like the veloute, the Espagnole is also a fond sauce. So, this one is the dark version, so it's a brown roux rather than a blonde roux, and it's dark colored alcohol and dark colored broth. So I'm going to be using some beef broth. And then I'm either going to use some wine or I might use some Jameson again because Jameson and beef go together amazingly. But I shall catch you all after the roux is done. Okay, so here we are back in my kitchen. As you can see, the roux has become a nice deep brown, and I have a beautiful amount of fond in the bottom of this pan. So to that, I have some finely done carrots, onion, and celery. Which I'm just going to toss into here and mix around, let them cook a little bit. I did this really fine because I can't stand the texture of cooked carrots. But I found out that if they're fine enough, then the texture doesn't bother me. So I want this to get a little bit of color and cook down a bit, and it's already pulled up a good chunk of fond at the bottom. But I'll let that cook for a bit, caramelize up, and I'm also going to add a little bit of garlic. But I'm going to give it a little bit of time before I start adding the garlic. This already smells amazing. So, the brown roux, as it gets toasted up, it gets a really nutty smell to it, which is absolutely amazing. I'm just going to turn up the heat underneath my cast iron a little bit. So that this can cook a bit quicker and I can get a bit more sweetness out of that carrot and onion and celery. You don't have to do it anywhere near as fine as this. I functionally turned the 3 of those into a paste. You don't have to take it that far. You can do it far more roughly chopped. You can do it fine chopped, just not as fine. Or you can go full hog with it and go as fine as I did. And this already smells amazing. And it's just about good to start adding some of my other ingredients into here. So I'll start with some garlic. Because who doesn't love garlic? garlic in with those. Give it a moment for the garlic to start cooking and marry in as well, but don't want to wait too long, else the garlic can start to try to burn on it. And you definitely don't want to burn your garlic. It creates a horrible, bitter taste to it. Go. Again, the smells of this are absolutely amazing. Now I'm going to add a nice beef broth. More broth than that splash. That should be a decent amount. So in with my beef broth, and then I'm going to go for some whiskey for this. So give it a nice splash of Jameson as well. Let that bubble for a bit before I start adding any of my brown roux, because I want those flavors to marry together. Now, if you want to have all those flavors, but you don't want any of the textured element from the celery and onion and carrot, what you can do is you can put it through a mesh sieve or strainer. If you don't mind the bit of texture, then you don't need to do that. You just go with that little bit of texture. Let's see, what would this sauce need? I want to increase the umami notes to this sauce, so I'm going to add a dash or two of Worcestershire. And I'm also going to want some salt in this because it is definitely underseasoned at the moment. Mix that around. That's a bit better. I'm going to add a bit more beef stock. But I'm going to use a different beef stock than the one I've been adding to give it a bit of a deeper beef flavor. Let's give this another taste. Much better. So now let me add some of my roux to this. Let's use this. In there. I let this sit for a moment so it started to thicken up more than when it first came off the heat. So I'm just giving it a quick stir to get it all back into a nice spoonable addition to this. Mix that in throughout. Like I said, if you want this to be finer, you don't want any of the chunks in it, you just want a smooth, flavorful sauce. You just put it through a sieve. But I kind of like that little bit of texture to it. That is doing wonders. Tweak the temperature again. Still need some more salt. Slopping some of my salsa. There we go. So it just ended up slopped down into the handle. Okay. There's another case. That's good flavor, that. So, like I said, you can strain it out before you start adding everything else. But even at this point, if you decide, I don't like the texture of it, what you can do is you can still strain it out fairly nicely. So we'll take part of this and Show how that's done. Throw it in my sieve. And then you just kind of want to press it and mix it round. Press it. And it will look more appetizing this way because it gets rid of some of the weirdness of the texture. But this is a step that you can choose whether you want to do or you can leave it out. Either way, it'll taste fantastic. But the resulting sauce, if you decide to do this additional step, either, like I said, before you start thickening it, or at the end here, is you end up with this beautiful, smooth, delicious sauce. That then you can just spoon over whatever you're having as your meal. But I will show you guys this once I have my entire plate plated up for me, and you can see the dinner that I turned this into. Okay, so here we are with my absolutely lovely Espagnole just spooned over a beautiful skirt steak. Just over some buttered rice. This sauce has a lot of flavor to it. Including a deep nuttiness from that brown roux that just works wonderfully with the beef. And plays off the rice as well. This is one of the mother sauces. You can, if you add more broth, you turn this into a demi-glaze. If you add more wine, then it goes to, I want to say, a Burgundoise sauce or Burgundoise sauce. I can't remember the proper name or how to say it, rather. But it's an absolutely delicious sauce. It can be a bit of a pain in the ass to make just because of how long it takes for the brown roux to form up properly. And get to that deep brown coloration that you want. But, oh god, it's worth it when you do it. But I guess, since I've shown you guys how this finishes, and I've talked about the flavor, which is beefy, I could have added a bit more whiskey to it, and it would have been really nice to have just a bit more of that kick to it. But the sauce is absolutely delicious. You can taste the beefiness of it from the two different types of stock that I used, and just the fond on the bottom of the pan from when I cooked the skirt steak. You get a slight sweetness from the carrot and onion and celery, and you can add more flavors in. I wanted to keep this one fairly simple. Otherwise, I would have added in some mushroom, which, oh, this sauce with mushroom is absolutely unbelievable. But as is, it is fantastic and delicious. If I wanted to, I could have also thrown in some herbs. Throw in some rosemary or some thyme. It's delicious. But like I said, I've decided to keep it in a fairly simple form. And even in that form, it has a fantastically deep flavor. The sweetness of the onion and carrot, and even a little bit of that celery sweetness they get when you cook off some celery. The beefiness, that nuttiness of the brown roux. Oh, it's fantastic. So, with that, rather than just having you guys watch as I clean my entire plate, which this will be absolutely cleaned off. I will lick this plate clean when I finish. Let me leave off with my standard challenge to you. Try new things. Try different spices. Try different combinations of old spices. Explore your food. Find a restaurant that you haven't been to with a type of cuisine that you haven't had. Give it a go. Expand your palate. Enjoy your food. And enjoy your life. Have fun exploring, everyone. And with that, goodbye.